Hi, everybody. Today, my guest is Ruddy Hernandez. His pen name is Ruddy Cano, Cano, and Ruddy, Ruddy. He has dominated the first 3 pages of Google, and he's here today to give us SEO and some pitching tips in your content writing and beyond. Ruddy is a decorated Afghanistan war veteran, executive producer, and an author. His body of work includes political campaigns, published works, health insurance, and humanitarian aid. He has a passion for projects that bridge the gap between civilians and veterans to shine on a brighter light issues. He is incredible, you guys. Wait till you listen to some of his stories. One of the quotes he has is, "I'm 5'2" and have had to fight for everything everywhere and twice as hard. Don't you dare let me see you quit." How cool is that? I hope you enjoy this show and this intense interview. Welcome to the Savvy Scribe Podcast, a podcast for healthcare professionals who want to build a profitable writing business. I'm your host, Janine Kalbach. I'm a wife, mother of 2 incredible boys, labor and delivery nurse who created my own profitable writing business back in 2015, and I'm ready to share my secrets along the way with some help from some incredible guests. My goal is to help you open up your creative mind with my podcast, courses, and Facebook group, the Savvy Scribe Collective, to help you build your own profitable writing business. So let's take a listen. Welcome, Savvy Scribes, to another episode of the Savvy Scribe Podcast. Today I have Ruddy Hernandez here. He is a freelance writer, and I'm just going to dive right in. So how are you doing today?
No, I'm doing well, Janine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well too. So just start off with the conversation today. Just tell our listeners, a little bit about you, where you're from, what you did before you even started writing, and maybe even what got you into writing.
Okay, sure. Let's see. I believe before I got into all of this, I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the infantry. I served for 6 years. And I was right around the last year where your contract is about to expire, where your higher ups really ask you, like, all right, so what's the next step? What are you going to do with your life? And I was like, I think I'm going to follow my dreams. So I applied to the New York Film Academy in the Burbank campus in California. I got accepted. From there, I just started dabbling in just different things until I got closer to the first day of class. A couple of different short films, things like that. Just really researching more about like the industry. Then I got out to California. Was out, did my degree, my 4-year degree in 3 years. I also assisted on a political campaign for Mayor Garcetti, who is also the current mayor of Los Angeles right now. Let's see. I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations for veterans and things of that nature. And they just kind of just build up over time until you get to a place where you want to get published. You just say your name and it happens.
Very cool. Wow. Did what made you go into the Marines?
It was always a dream of mine when I was a little kid. I
It's
was
very
like,
cool.
yeah,
Where
I
did you
was.
serve time at?
Well, I deployed 3 times in 3 different types of deployments. The most shiny, interesting one is the Afghanistan one,
Sure.
combat deployment out there to Helmand Province, near Sistani, which is like this city battleground area kind of thing. For you civilians out there, it's way out there.
Wow.
um, and then there was another one which was called a MU, a Marine Expeditionary Unit. And so with that deployment, you are on a Navy ship and you go from port to port in whatever sea it takes those 3 ships to be in. The U.S. military has a fleet in every ocean at all times. And that's how the Marine Corps is able to respond within 24 to 48 hours to any international threat. And that's actually how I got my humanitarian service ribbon, my medal for that. Was we were passing by Haiti in 2010 during that deployment, and the earthquake just hit, and we were literally like right passing the island. So we turned around, and we started unloading equipment, supplies, and rendering first aid. So that was pretty cool about
Wow.
that.
Wow. Well, for one, thank you so much for your service. That is just incredible. And the stories you must have. I mean, I can't, you get so, being in the United States my whole life, like you just get used to here, and how free we actually are is incredible. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
Um,
crazy. Like I've been traveling like pretty much like my whole life. Even as a kid and stuff like that. It's always been something that I've been passionate about.
Internationally, or just like throughout?
Yeah,
Yeah,
internationally and stuff.
very
Like
good.
yeah.
Where'd you grow up? Where would you say you're from?
Well, I'm from New Jersey,
There
but
you
I
go.
was born in Managua, Nicaragua. I'm actually a U.S. immigrant. I earned my citizenship through my military service.
Very good.
Um, Yeah, I just figured, it's the right way to go about it. I'm very patriotic. I love this country. I came here when I was very young, but I did visit my mother country every summer for about just a couple years.
Wow.
But then I would also, when I got tired of that, I would ask my grandparents, "Can we go to Puerto Rico now? Can we go here or there?"
Yeah, you just wanted to check out everything.
Hmm.
And you're still like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good, very good. So you did the film academy, you did all these like crazy things. I can't believe how much you've already done in your life. What brought you into writing?
It was also that military audience as well, that military experience. I tried writing. I was trying to get into, at this time I didn't have that relationship with history yet, the History Channel, or A&E or any of those other places, Discovery. So I was trying to get out there, and there was this little company called We Are the Mighty at the time. They were little, but they were uh, pretty much going after like the veteran viewership, creating content for veterans and everything. And they were hiring writers, and I was like, okay, so as always, what's the pay?
Sure, sure.
So they needed writers bad at the time. So they were like, oh, we're paying $50 per article, and I'm like, okay, so what's your word count? And they're like 300. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay. And what does it have to be about? Then they sent me some guidelines. So for like the first year, when it comes to like any publisher that's really going to take a chance on you, um, most publishers don't want to take a chance on you, like just straight off the bat. Like if you've never been published before, self-publish helps a little bit, but it's also like it's different. But once somebody does take a chance on you, then everybody thinks
Want
it's
you.
fine to take. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
then it's fine, and it's like, oh, okay, he didn't explode, so that's all right, cool.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So you
Mhm.
wrote for them. Are you still writing for them?
Yeah, I come on from time to time. I conduct kind of like the what do they call them now? Like high profile interviews. And
Cool.
so that's what I do now. But I started with like, listicles and joke articles and things like that. So your first year, when it comes to these publishers, that's where you're really gonna be developing your voice and the voice that's gonna resonate with your audience. So for example, they had I want to say conservatively speaking around 24 million eyeballs at one time, at any
Nice.
one point in time. I'm pretty sure it's increased by now, because again, that was like several years ago. Um, but yeah, so within a base like that with a publisher, you want to get your own little base going within that. People that when they see your name, they're already readers there, but when they see your name there, they're like, oh, I definitely want to check out what
What else
Rudy's
they
got going
write?
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I think it's funny when companies are almost against having too many writers, because I think, yeah, some places you really need their voice, but if it's something like We Are the Mighty, or an article website, I think it's so important to have so many different voices, because I think it brings a different perspective to the writing. And it's funny to me, like you said, when you start knowing public or authors when they're writing, you start to know who's writing it before you even look at the person who wrote it,
Yeah,
which I'm sure
absolutely.
you developed within that first year.
Hmm. And
So,
you also develop a lot of trust with these publishers as well, and especially your editors.
oh
Your
yeah,
editors will come and go. Your content coordinators will come and go. But if you stay resilient, if you stay on message, if you stay yourself, and just don't really get yourself in trouble. Don't get into the politics of, it's a job.
It's a
Don't
job.
get into the politics of the job, and you'll live, you'll live the nuclear bomb explosion or whatever,
Well, and
if
like
there's
you
ever
said,
is one.
the content managers, the editors, they come and go. But you know what? If you do develop a good relationship with them, wherever they go, they may bring you on somewhere else. And
Hmm.
as long as you have that relationship, it's very important. I've had clients do that with me before. So it's not truly, you get in good with your editors, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so after We Are the Mighty, who picked you up? Where did you start writing after that?
So after We Are the Mighty, because again, the company was also evolving with time. There was changes to their rates, this and that. So at that point in time, I was like, all right, well, let's see like what else is out there. So that's when I reached out. At this point, I just graduated college and everything. So I asked one of my pitching teachers, his name is David O'Leary, and I don't know if your listeners may recognize the name. He's a creator of Project Blue Book, a
Yeah.
TV show that's out there on the History Channel. And so I was his best student at pitching, just conveying an idea, getting people on board. It's like, all right, let's greenlight this, let's go, which has been an invaluable skill. Because when you're working with these publishers, any publisher at all, like Business Insider or something like that, they're gonna want um, they expect a certain caliber of material, I suppose.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned earlier, like you're developing like that trust with like your editor. You're still not just only doing it with them, you're doing it with your audience as well. So as your first year is developing, your voice is developing, you become more keen and pick up on these little nuances from your audience of like, what they don't like, things like that. Like for example, with the nurse niche, right?
Hmm.
I've noticed that anything that joke stuff is high in engagement. Anything that jokes about the coronavirus has low engagement.
Sure.
So
Sure.
nurses like to laugh, they just don't like to laugh about corona. Got
Right.
it.
There are certain things you're like, well, yeah, that crossed the line. We're not there
Yeah.
yet. Too soon. Too soon. Maybe as time
Hmm.
develops we will, but you're exactly right there. That's
Yeah,
funny.
and like with the veteran community, like they love Oakley. They'll buy anything Oakley. Oakley comes out with some new style and they put it in front of them, they're gonna buy it.
Uh-huh.
you know so it's just like you get to know these things about like your audience as well, and it also helps for like sponsored content, like if you start to go on your own or something like that. Now getting back to your question from before, from earlier, just getting back on track, sorry.
Yeah, no, I get it. I
Hmm.
can get off a tangent very quickly. But yeah, from where you said, Discovery Channel, History Channel, A&E, who picked you up first? Where did you pitch to?
Well, it was the History Channel because, like, at first, I was doing like this cross, like, in between work between like the History Channel uh, and We Are the Mighty. So I got press access to them, to all their content. I met the director of publicity through my professor. From there, I tried to get a job, but it didn't really work out. There was 52,000 candidates.
Jeez.
But I got all the way up to the third interview. So I was like,
Holy
well,
cow.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
great.
it doesn't hurt. Like you don't need a lot of connections. You just need the ones that'll get you at
Get
least.
you in there. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's not
So
just a connection to just like,
mhm.
be selly kind of to them. You don't want to sell to them, but to really develop that relationship and to have a professor. I mean, what a better connection than that? And especially you said he knew
Mhm.
you being the best pitching person. Of course he's going to
Yeah.
refer you.
And actually, like my biggest ally has been his publicist.
Sure.
Actually,
Sure.
her and I have been like when his show was coming out, I was like, hey, I want to do an interview for you guys, like on We Are the Mighty. And he was like, sure, let me ask my publicist. Let me run this through, history. They were okay with it at first, but, they looked through all my stuff. They went through all
Hmm.
my articles. At that point, I think I had like 50 or something published at the time. So they were going through everything.
Sure.
And another thing too is like when you first start your first year, you're gonna get something called redlining, which is when editors they redline your stuff and they're like change that or delete that or they'll do it themselves. Um, until they get that, until you're better with how everything stays on message. When you're able to stay on message and and you've worked out the kinks of grammar and all that other stuff, because you're still gonna have it. That's why they have editors.
Right.
But if you can catch it before your editor and it's completely perfect, it's on message, it's just on a silver platter. You can turn it in one day and get it published the next,
That's the
or even the same
best.
day.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. So, when you first started pitching, like, what can you tell my listeners how to maybe even stand out from the other people? If someone's asking for pitches, how would you get yours maybe seen or opened if it's like an email? Is there any tips or tricks you have?
Oh yeah, and the great thing about your audience is that they're super truthful. That sometimes it hurts.
Yes, yes.
So like they'll tell you what they love. They'll definitely tell you what they hate. And
Yes,
so just be and it won't have to. It doesn't necessarily have to be with words. Like just look at their actions and stuff. So for example, my highest article, most profitable article is one about this is why the military doesn't use riot shields. And so I noticed that I got a lot of engagement when it came to the police. So I was like, okay.
mm,
And so then I was like, all right, well, let me write this other article down the line, trying it out, like just different things, putting out your feelers. And then you'll see like what your audience starts reacting to, and you'll start to see those little nuances, like I mentioned before about like the Oakleys. You can't really joke about this. You can joke about that kind of thing, and so that
sure.
gives you an idea of like what's next, because your editors, um, they just don't want a firefight in the comment section on social media.
Right,
I mean,
right.
like if they do, at least it's not directed at them. We created a conversation and people are arguing with each other. Cool. People complaining about the company. No.
Different story. Right, right. Or how the article was written, or
Right.
because that's the voice of the company. Your work is your
Hmm.
work, but it's still you're talking for that company and that publisher, and that's what they want. They want people that'll represent them, and that they would put their name on. So I think
Exactly.
what you're kind
So,
of saying is that
mhm.
before even pitching, do some research, see what's out there, and take that type of content that's doing well and tweak it in a manner where you can repurpose a different idea from that article into something bigger.
Mhm. Yeah, and not only and don't be scared of, failure. Don't be scared of
Right,
articles that don't do so well, because I've had articles that I've only had maybe, I think it's rare, but I've had an article that had like 3,000 views or something like that, which is a
right.
complete bomb. And it's actually, but because you're aiming more for like the 300,000 mark, you're aiming more for like the 5 million mark, kind of thing. So it's kind of, but again, you develop that over your first year,
Hmm.
and so you will eventually get to those numbers by continually writing, and then finding out like, oh, that article about triage worked.
Yeah,
Like they like that
yeah.
a lot. Oh, they didn't like the article about like the conspiracy theory behind the band-aids and this and that. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
no conspiracy theories. You're not into that.
No, they
But
aren't into that. You're right. Yeah. So how often are you in that first year? How often were you publishing?
ooh, way more often than I do now. Like
Sure.
let's see, several times a week.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I tell people is, whether you're publishing or you're pitching to get noticed with a company, you have to, especially right out the gate, to get yourself noticed, to get yourself out there, you have to like jumpstart it. And that's the only way you're going to get noticed. And then, like you said, then you slow way down if you want. You can keep going at it, but you'll eventually burn out, especially with like one client all the time. But to get noticed out there, to get those samples going, and to start getting your voice heard, you have to do it a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and
Not
the
easy.
great no, not at all. But the great thing is though is that sure it is a lot of work on the front end. I'm not gonna lie,
Hmm.
it's not easy. But when
Hmm.
you do well at it, um, it opens you up to follow other careers. I mean, like it even, for example, like I write maybe once a month now,
Right.
because writing has given me the opportunity, um, while only focusing on that, but also keeping an eye out for things that weren't really like weren't really employment related, but were able to generate revenue for, you know, just passively, I suppose. So for example, like I'm also a licensed insurance agent,
Yeah.
so that's like another passion that I was just like, oh yeah, I'm like really into this. Like I love tests, like
Right.
some weird. Okay. So I was like, oh yay, highlighters, like pens, papers, copiers, this, that, whatever. I'm like, I'm in heaven,
This is
you know.
great.
So I just, but like, yeah, I mean, like I could leave it and go back to writing like full time, because you've already done the hard part. You've people know who you are.
This episode is brought to you by the new Implementation Co-op group. This is a private Facebook group for the course learners in the Plan, Create, Launch, Land, and Grow Your Health Writing Business course. If you enroll by December 31st, 2020, you will be part of it. What this group helps you with is accountability. You will be inside this private group with us for the entirety of 12 weeks, and at the end, we'll have a huge celebration. Every 2 weeks, I will be going live in the group talking about and diving deeper into the lessons. Every 2 weeks, we'll have lessons to complete. So, week 1 and 2, you'll do the lessons for the plan part of the course. And then week 3 and 4, the create lessons. 5 and 6, the launch lessons. 7 and 8, the land lessons. And week 9 and 10, the grow content lessons. And every 2 weeks, I'll go live. We're going to dive in deeper to those lessons. We're going to walk through the workbook. We're going to do question and answers. And hidden secret, there is a digital planner that I use that I made specifically for my writing business and life that I'm giving to you for free with this course purchase. And this group is also free. All you have to do is join in before December 31st, 2020 to the Plan, Create, Launch, Land, and Grow Your Health Writing Business. You can find everything over at thesavvyscribepodcast.com and click on courses. At the end, here's where it gets really exciting. Week 12, we have a celebration. So we're going to have you guys come inside the insiders group. You get chances to pitch to clients, and I start the client connection with you. You get your CEUs, and you get to say that you took this course and you will launch your business. I'll see you guys inside the Implementation Co-op on January 1st, 2021. Passively, now that you are writing, what types of things are bringing you the passive income now? Is it from articles? Is it just different skills that you're learning now?
Yeah, and you'll start seeing like residuals and stuff like that too. Like as you keep going, you'll start noticing it helps when you start off writing if you have a day job, and then when you start to feel the burnout kind of thing, have like something else, something new to start.
Yes.
Even if it's a hobby, it doesn't have to be another job. Um, it I just I don't know. I'm just a workaholic. Like I just feel like if I'm not really doing anything with my time, I feel like I'm wasting it kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
You don't have to get another job. You could totally just hang out and like look
Do
for
people
other
tell you, Rudy, that
other
you like have this
opportunities.
endless amount of energy and how do you always go, go, go?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, what time do you wake up in the morning? I'm like 5 in the morning. Like, and they're
Yep.
like, you're insane.
But no, I think a lot of us are like that. People that are, really passionate about things, it's the same thing. I think there's people that are able to relax or like just sit down, and I envy those people because I'm the same way. Like I can't just sit a lot of time. I love to, if I'm sitting, I'm reading something or listening to something. Like I'm never just like sitting there. And I know a lot of people that are like that. So, like you said, if time is just wasting, like you feel like you're wasting time if it's just you're not doing anything. So, same thing with me. And I think, like you said, when you start to feel the burnout of just writing articles, you can switch it to just a hobby, like you said. You can also switch it into a different type of writing too. So it doesn't just have to be like
Yeah,
blog articles and such.
Absolutely. Like for example, just between you, me, and the audience, I actually am working on something new, on a new niche, and it is having to do with all this, but it has to do with not only the same style of editorial writing, but also doing that for health insurance, and health
Sure.
coverage and things like that, and like really getting into like like the nitty gritty things, like what's the difference between a deductible and an annual
Yeah.
deductible? What's
Nitty-gritty but basic at the same time, because it's
hmm
it's true. And there's so many insurance providers out there that content, it's the same. It's, like any niche, really, like anything you kind of go into, there's always room for content in that area. So I think you have a great, idea to just write for insurance stuff. And
hmm
like you said, you already have the experience and the licensing behind it. So what a better
hmm
person to write.
Absolutely, and also always put the needs of the audience first.
Absolutely.
Because they are your biggest champions. They are your biggest cheerleaders. They also can be your worst enemy. So don't like try to sell them some MLM kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
you know, but
Yes.
but if you're able to also like maintain that trust anywhere you go, your audience travels with you and continues to grow. Like my audience that I took with me from all of my military stuff, writing, it transferred over, it transitioned nicely over into what I'm doing right now. I've also been, I think I have over 800 nurses right now on my social media, and when I started the health insurance thing, I had zero.
Right. And
You
over
know.
time, yeah, you just end
hmm
up connecting, and
Yep.
it's that know, like, and trust factor, and then people tell people about you and whatnot. So yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Wow. So I think a lot of these tips, just to even get your stuff published, like whether like getting your ideas out there, what are those right ideas that editors are looking for the website? Look at that content. Look at the research behind it. What are people really getting into? That's how your articles are going to get shared and liked and even picked up
Absolutely.
by different companies. And then you can kind of, even if you're doing some pitching, look at a competitor website and see what did really well over there, and take an idea from that article and expand. A lot of articles have, like, most things that are blog written have different subtitles for different headings for the different areas of the article. Take one
Oh.
of those and make it
hmm
your own, and really expand on that one idea. And I think that's, people are always asking me, like, how do I get companies to read what I want to be published, or what I have an idea for. And I think it's truly knowing the company, knowing what their audience is into, and breaking it down to the audience's needs, like you said.
And the best way to identify if like if you can even understand the audience, try to be the audience too. Like what makes us us.
Right.
Like what makes you you. Like what products do you buy? What things do you do on a day to day? Um, like what are your pain points throughout the day, throughout the month? You know, um, you're gonna find that your audience has a lot in common with what you do, because even though we as human beings like to think we're special, we aren't, and but
It's
we
true.
like, and we only become special when other people consider you that. Like
Right.
I'm not special just because I'm like I'm Rudy, I'm special, and it's like no, it doesn't work that way. Somebody else has to say it. Somebody else has to do it.
Well, you are special, Rudy.
Thanks.
So
There you
I
go.
gave you permission to say you're special, because you are. You truly, like, how old are you, Rudy?
I just turned 30 this year.
What an amazing, like, that's so crazy. In 30 years, how much you have done. I mean, that's truly remarkable.
Yeah, and I
And
didn't even get into Korea or Japan or any of
you'll get
that.
there. You'll get there this episode, I'm sure. So, now you're connected, you said, with 800 nurses. Where can other people find you? Where are you at out there?
So, I don't respond to Twitter.
I'm
So,
bad at Twitter. It's horrible.
but anybody can reach me at my pen name, which is Rudy with two D's, Ruddy, Cano, Cano. My full name is Ruddy Cano Hernandez, but when it comes to my writing, entertainment stuff, I use Ruddy Cano. So you guys can Google that, and then I dominate the first 3 pages of Google and stuff like that. Oh, another thing too is SEO is very, very
I was gonna
important.
say, let's do a little transition for a second. How did you get out of those first 2 pages of Google?
Well, it helps when you're given a unique name.
I was saying when you
So
hear
that
Rudy, it's like Janine Kalbach. Type that in. Yeah, it's me.
so like if I put Rudy Hernandez, I was like, okay, not only do I have two D's in my name, like people are probably always going to put one,
Yeah,
and
I
I was
did
like,
when I
okay, so
first
that's
emailed you.
a see. And then I was like Hernandez. So I was like, oh great, it
Yeah,
might as well call me Smith. So I was like,
that's the truth.
no offense to the Smiths out there, but I
Right.
feel your pain.
Well, it's
So I
funny.
was
We have a huge Hispanic population where I work in labor and delivery, and they'll say, "Woman's coming up. She only speaks Spanish," and I'm like, "What's her last name?" They're like, "I don't know, Hernandez, Martinez, Ramirez."
oh
It's
geez.
something. It's like the browns and the greens.
But yeah, SEO work is very important, especially when you're trying to get like those new views and everything. So what I would recommend most is um, if you have an audience member that's willing to put down the money to get a domain name, which is like the website www.something.com, a hosting place like GoDaddy.com. They're not paying me, but but like if you do that, there is that route, and you can self-publish your articles, kind of thing. The
Yep.
downside to that is that you're not really going to have uh, second opinions, kind of thing, and you're going to
Hmm.
be judge, jury, and executioner on everything. So you're more susceptible to be biased, against criticism. But if you need somewhere your content to live while you're still looking to get picked up by a publisher, then yeah, by all means, definitely do that. There are other sites such as what was it? I think it was like WordPress or stuff like that,
Hmm.
that they have like free versions, and you can put your stuff to live on there. The domain name helps, just for familiarity for the person clicking around. But what these analytics really look for is content. So if you have let's say, an 800 word article about ambulances, and it is 800 word about ambulance, it's got links to other like reputable sites, not like just regular .coms either, like .gov, .edu, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, it's got pictures, it's got videos. It doesn't have to have that, but it helps a lot for the reader themselves too. So when you combine that, you have one solid piece of entertainment. So what that does is that these web crawlers on Google, they identify that. They like, oh, hey, look, this article isn't BS. It's actually got
Real deal. Yeah.
it's got sources, it's got pictures, it's got videos, it's got this, and that. Oh, where is it? It's on a WordPress site. That's fine. We'll just move this up here. Boom, boom, boom. And so you keep doing that, and you link your name too. So make sure that in that article you mention yourself. Like for example, you type in Ruddy Cano on Google, everything that's ever been with that name. I always make sure that my name is somewhere on that web page, so that the web crawlers connect it to one another, and so that way you get like this cascading, you know, mirror you throughout all of the first page of Google, and it just keeps going and going. And if you're able to do that faster and better than everybody else, it doesn't matter. Your name could be John Smith, but you will probably move ahead.
Right. And the same thing when you're writing for companies too. The same thing. You want to link those reputable resources, and like you said, as long as your name is on that article, you're gonna get known, no matter.
Exactly.
Just takes a little time.
And I would highly discourage people doing ghostwriting work,
Right. Yes.
because even though yes, you are getting paid, um, at that point in your career, it's not about the money, it's about your name. People
Right.
have to know that you exist so that they can hire you. If and then when they're looking to hire you, they have to look at what you've done. And if everything that you've done is just ghostwriting, anybody can do that. I can copy and paste anything from anywhere, and I was like, yeah, I was a ghostwriter for Token.
Right.
I wrote it. I
Yeah.
wrote 2 chapters. They're gonna be like, yeah, no, get out.
Right. Like we're like, why should they believe you? You know, and usually in ghostwriting, you don't get that privilege to just say that you did it because the person you're ghostwriting for doesn't want the people to know that they hired out to write whatever it is, whether it's a book or
Right. And if they're
whatever it
smart, they'll
is.
make you sign 2 contracts. One of them is called a work for hire, which transfers all of the copyright ownership from what you write, pen and paper, text to screen, everything that you do. They have complete ownership of that. And then there's another contract called an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and that's basically the gag order. So if they're
Hmm.
smart, they'll make you sign both. Um, but if they're not, then there's like a whole other Pandora's box there that
Right.
I'm not really going to get into right now.
Right. Right. Well, good. So they could Google your name. What other platforms are you on?
So let's see, Facebook, Instagram, most active on LinkedIn. So definitely, and let's see, let me just do a quick search on myself actually. SEO. Sorry.
Don't be. It's good.
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing that pops up is We Are the Mighty. The second link right there is my LinkedIn. So if anybody just Googles me, it's right there. And there's also some different websites that have talked about me as well. Like I mentioned, like this is also going to be great for your SEO. So let's see, military.com and muckrack.com. These are veteran websites. You know, they acknowledge me as a journalist, as a writer. Um, so there's IMDb as well. Let's see, military.com again. We got Flappers Comedy Club. I remember I used to do like some internship work back there. Oh, Upwork. Another thing too
Yeah.
is I wanted to talk to your audience regarding Upwork.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Um, don't sell yourself short with Upwork. Most of those things, like most of those high paying jobs that you see on there, they're kind of just people paying their friends.
Mm,
So so don't get discouraged if you're like, I'm worth $20 an hour, and you get undercut by somebody that says like, I will work for $3 an hour. And you're
right.
like, dude, what?
Right.
Yeah.
Have you had a lot of success on Upwork?
On Upwork, a lot more with technical writing,
Sure.
not with, not with, how do you
Article
say?
writing,
Yeah,
just
like
regular.
not
Yeah.
creative stuff.
I mine's kind of like half and half. I've had some really good clients off Upwork, and then like you said, like there's some you're like, yeah, it's not even worth pursuing because it's not gonna monetarily be worth it.
Yeah,
But yeah.
absolutely. And also like when these businesses and stuff like that on your SEO search they start mentioning you, like for example, Open Road Media or Business Insider, because they've also syndicated an article, a couple from me, like 6 things you need to prepare for a hike, like a Marine. So they syndicated that. So they went through the publisher, and there's a whole another way of the business of going through there, but I'm not gonna get into that right now either. It's a lot. Like
Yeah.
your first year being with the publisher is key because you get to learn all these different things, and you're just like, whoa, that's how it works this whole time. And it's like,
Yeah.
yep, that's how it works this whole
And
time.
ask questions along
Yep.
the way for sure. You'll learn a lot.
Nobody will get mad if you ask a ton of
No, no.
questions your first month.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, wow. Thank you so much, Rudy, for being on today. And I can't wait to share all these pitching tips and these SEO tips and just everything that you shared today. We're going to have you back
hmm
again to dive
Yeah,
into some of those other topics.
I would love to. And feel free to, edit as you wish, as you have final cut. Obviously, you're the creator. I'm not
Sure.
sure if I'm talking like between you and me right now, like
Yeah.
kind of like not even um you're aware of a lot of the industry terms and stuff like that as
Yes.
well, right?
Yes.
hmm Did you also? Okay. Let's see. Do you? So you know what a Final Cut is?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Um, have you been making? I know I mentioned it in the show. I meant to reach out earlier and mention that too. Have you been? How is your chain of title looking for like all of your like stuff,
What
like
do you
all
mean?
your
That's a wrap for
podcasts?
today's episode of The Savvy Scribe. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Until next time.